Antonin, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Antonin, you've been in the SEO business for so long. So for someone who's new into digital marketing, can you explain to us what it is?
Yes, sure. SEO is it's a discipline part of SEM, which is search engine management, where we basically are acquisition channel for leads to any kind of clients. But we work specifically for Google and the organic part, not the paid part. You probably know that the search engine results are split among paid results, Google Ads, and organic results. The second one is our core business, our focus. We really try to understand Google algorithm to capitalize on all the data of the client that is available publicly and make that acquisition channels for leads. Um, so SEO is very different from any other kind of advertising in the sense people are looking for something and you just place yourself in front of them based on your website, on your content, or on your material. You're not imposing something in front of the eyes. So that's something that I really liked about SEO. It's an art more than a discipline, in my opinion. After 10 years doing that, I feel it's more like an horizontal discipline where you need to understand different parameters, but it's definitely not like engineer in something where you go into a specific single field of expertise. Here, it's very specific in the sense you need to understand both technique, the way Google understand your structure, the structure of your website. You also need some semantic affinities because we work with the language. And at the same time, you need to work with the press and the social media and everything which is off site. So I don't know a lot of work that have so many different aspects. But that is SEO. It's being able to use those three things, technical, semantics, and promotion or off-site mentions to be able to promote a business naturally.
And Antonin, for someone who's been doing it for a decade, you probably saw the industry evolve. And especially in the last couple of years, we saw that the trend with AI really exploded in almost every sector. How do you think this affected your business in particular?
Well, all agencies are different, so it really depends on the agency, I think. Some people are doing tasks that can be done by an AI. Some other agencies are doing more. So the sensibility aspect, understanding the business is something which can be hard to do for an AI, but also putting in place the different strategy in different aspects, technical, semantics, all that stuff are very custom to your situation. And I've really worked with AI. We are also developing our own tool with ChatGPT, being plugged with some data sets from your website. So we know how it works. But when you don't give a specific data sets to an AI, it will not provide good results. It will not be enough to work on the SEO part. That's what I noticed. Um,
Can you give us an example? Like, because I feel like
yeah,
AI is a bit overhyped. So can you tell us exactly how it fits
def
in to your
yeah,
system so it doesn't completely take over? It's kind of a tool.
absolutely. It's a tool which can perform some very specific task a pretty good way. However, for example, if you just take content creation, lots of people are using ChatGPT to just post content like that on their website. Just this single task won't be efficient because of some penalization algorithm like Gemini that can understand the similarity and the temperature between AI-generated content and human-generated content. So it doesn't work so well just for a single task. Now, let's try to see the relevance that you need to put between your editorial on-site strategy. For example, your own blog, you need to discuss about entrepreneurial challenges, stuff like that. And then you need to do the promotion and promote your idea, your podcast in some press or big media, New York Times, Reuters, whatever. It's different sensibilities. You need to understand both audience to provide a good content. Those stuff can be done with AI, but it will be never as good as when it's being performed by a human. And we have quite a history now. We can judge, we can see the results, we can understand better how it works. We have a couple of articles on our blogs that goes very deep into how Google works, because there was a leak at a certain point from an engineer in Google. And so we have the API content warehouse documents that I've analyzed, and we can go deeper into the understanding of Google. We can also understand how Google sees AI manipulation or AI generated stuff. So it's very interesting to, as we move on with those tools, to understand how Google knows how to mitigate.
You
Uh,
get it, yeah. You got
yeah,
it.
sorry.
But Antonin, I just want to ask you, did you say that there was some kind of leak from Google that allowed people to understand how their algorithm works?
Yes, absolutely.
So when did it happen? I didn't know about this.
I don't know specifically, but a couple of months ago, at
Oh, it's
least.
recent. It's very recent.
Yeah. It has been quite a buzz in the SEO world.
Wow.
Um, so I have a series of articles in our blogs where we try to go through different aspects to understand how it really works. And in our business, when client calls and they're like, yes, but another agency, for example, I have a very specific example. I have a client and he says, the other agency told me um, we can deploy as many blog articles as we want. Then he comes back to me and I say, be careful about the crawl budget, which means
Mm.
how much Google is willing to spend on your website to be able just to see the new articles. So he just copy my answer to them, which is not a great thing to do between agencies, but whatever. And those guy answers, there is no correlation whatsoever between your authority and the crawl budget, which means that if you're not able to prove that the authority of your domain has a correlation with how many dollars Google is willing to spend on your website to index you, you're in trouble. You know, you're not able to present your strategy properly. But we're able to show that to the clients through those articles because it has been explained. It has been explained. Uh, very few people do that. It's starting to be very technical and conceptual, but those things are explained. And we understand how Google is willing to spend his energy, his electricity on your website based on the signals he have.
Antonin,
Um,
I wanna ask you like the type of clients that you're talking about. Do you have like certain categories of client that you group together, or is it anyone who wants to improve their uh well being more relevant online or being found easier? Like, would you take any kind of client, or do you have specific clients
no,
categories that you
not
take?
at this point. Well, we are not, we'll come back to that probably, but we don't want to become a big agency because I think we lose the art in the process. So we cannot really take anyone we want. And also, some markets don't apply to SEO in the sense it's not searched. Some stuff and products are so new that it's not being researched online. I don't have examples like that, but when something is really new, it's not yet searched. So that's a problem. Sometimes because we analyze that in the first hand, we know if there is a potential or not. So most of the times, we're talking about small and medium companies in Canada, in Quebec, that are trying to sell services or products, 80% of the time. But sometimes we cannot do SEO, so we don't take them. Or sometimes we have competitors of our own clients, so we refuse to take them. But that's how it goes. 80% of our clients are small, medium companies. We also have bigger companies in the US, but it's not so.
You've mentioned SEO being an art a couple of times now. So I want to elaborate on this because it seems like it's obviously your passion. This is what you've been doing for a while. But talk to me about the art side of things. Why you say that? It's a very intriguing comment.
Well, art is something that the machine will never be able to do because it starts. Well, there are different kind of arts. I'm not talking about doing a painting and trying to reflect an emotion, for example. That's not that. However, um, it's about the sensibility. You cannot copy and paste something in SEO. It will not work. Maybe it will work once but not twice. So if you have many clients, considering SEO like a pure discipline can be problematic to bring results. Google is so smart. Google is so smart, we cannot even understand that. The intelligence from the AI is starting to appeal us, and because of conversational AI, we're starting to understand how smart it is. But Google has been smarter before. So the number of hints it takes into consideration is huge. That's why I say it's an art. At a certain point, you don't have the time, the physical time, to analyze and prove every point. You just have a feeling of what's right to do. There are so many type of strategies you can perform in SEO. It's beautiful about it. But if you are ready to invest, let's say 50K during the following year as a company to bring the best ROI on a strategy, where would you spend it? You cannot just say SEO. If you have a big website, let's say Amazon type of website, transactional, multi-category, stuff like that, you cannot say, I'm spending my 50K into content strategy or into technical fixes and um, improving, let's say, the canonical URLs. Or you cannot say, I'm spending that into press releases and media. You have to understand what are the best actions. And I can tell you that most of the time, it's a mix of everything in the right ratio. You need to do a little bit of content enrichment. 90% of the time, you need to take the best converting pages. People have wrote a content about this service. Your clients wrote a content about this piece. But when you understand really how Google works with natural language processing, how it's not based out of a thesaurus, out of a dictionary now, but how people are talking about this, you start analyzing those competitors and you see it takes time to provide a good content. So it's an art. It's not, I know my expertise, I'm writing a piece of content about that. No, you need to understand NLP, how people are talking about that, analyze the density of keywords, hit the headings, meta tags, content, body, so on and so forth, and then be able to provide the content because that's how Google think. So it's an art. It's not simply writing. It's understanding so many parameters. You don't have time to prove it. You don't have time to explain to your clients. You are trusted out of your experience, out of the bouche à oreille references, and that's how it goes. So it's an art. Even the clients um, prove that because they come to you with references. And so more than any other job, I think people come to SEO guys thinking they're artists, um, at least the good clients.
Mhm. That's awesome. That's a very interesting perspective. And so let me ask you this: how much does the social aspect and psychology work into what you do? Because you are trying to reach people. Are you trying to keep up with social trends? Do you have like this exercise on the sides? And so it's not just putting numbers and seeing what works based on statistics. Like you said, you need to understand how people think. So how much of that is included in your day to day?
Well, in general, tracking and understanding the trends for clients represent 30 to 40% of our time in general. I spend so many times on Ahref, SEMrush, Moz, all that stuff, the Search Console, Google Analytics, just filling the traffic, the CTRs, the engagement is a huge part. Tracking in general. Social, well, we don't do social, but we do social. There are no really huge difference between offsite SEO and social. Um, it's just the, how do you say that in English? The time thing will stay online and be understood by Google. Generally, social is a whole world altogether. Google does not really rely on social signals. It can index them, so you can have your Twitter links, Instagram links into the search engine, but people are just going on Instagram, going on TikTok, going on this social media. So we use social signals, but we work with experts in the same sense that we work with media and we try to promote articles. In general, it's just a matter of bringing the right content to the right audience. So we don't do it ourselves, but we need those social signals, and we work with experts like that. So we know lots of influence agencies. We work with a couple in Montreal. And I think it's two different worlds that are bringing leads to the client, but it's not the same, definitely not the same. Google is an index, it's a destination, but it's the same for the social medias. So I think it's hard for an agency to be expert at both.
If I want to talk a bit more about you, you started your company, like we said, over a decade ago. What was the most challenging part to start that company? I mean, it's a brand new challenge. You can be great at SEO, but starting a company is something by
Oh
itself.
man, oh man. First of all, I did like 5 companies before that failed, all of them. So that's why the first things you mentioned about this podcast has really intrigued me, because I'm really, I think, before anything, expert of failing. We can agree on that. The number of challenges that you face when you start a company are so huge. Um, I don't even know where to start. You have the professional kind of problems and you have the personal kind of problems, but you still need to manage your company through that. So it's probably the hardest thing to do. The determination you need to have is above anything. But yes, I can.
It's actually fascinating to hear that after 5 times you still pushed through and started again, and finally it worked with you. So this is
It's funny, man,
determination.
because it's funny because even people sometimes ask me why Black Cat SEO, and then I think, man, I took months to think about some previous company names, months, and
Yeah.
everything failed. For Black Cat, I was like, man, I love cats. I love black cats. Let's call it Black Cat SEO. And it worked.
Yeah. So at that
So
point,
I
you knew
don't,
that spending months over the name of a company is not the best use of your time.
no,
Yeah.
no. I think the time spent into failing helps you understand who you are. So how you can place yourself in the market. This harmonization happens in the process of failing. This sync up, you kind of sync up with the market. That's what I felt was happening.
Antonin, was there a point at the beginning of your journey, your of Black Cat's journey, where you thought that things were not going to last? Or
Many
from the
times.
beginning it just blew up and did really well?
Um, I'm happy. I had quite a lot of success all over time. I never had to worry a lot, but there was moments I thought I would stop and I would quit due to really big challenges. We can uh, we can develop about that if you want.
Well,
Um,
I mean, maybe talk a bit about the personal toll it takes on you because you talked about the professional, the business, keeping it on track. But what about you? Like a common factor would be people feel very lonely when they start their own company. Was that something you felt as well?
Absolutely. Loneliness is a part of the journey because your friends don't even correlate and relate about what you are going through. Even your family, you cannot really share those experiences. So loneliness is a part of it. I think it helps you get stronger, and you need that as well because you're doing stuff for yourself before anything. So if you feed yourself with energy from the other, it will not last. So that's one thing. Probably the hardest thing to do was to continue the company while going through divorce, for example, and stuff like that. So it's always a balance, but you can not start this journey and separate it from your own life, like you're an employee. I don't think it works. I don't think it works that way.
Do you think you
Um,
could ever be an employee, or is it just inside you to be an entrepreneur forever?
I think it's inside me forever. Yeah, it's just growing. The creativity part, for example, being able to, I provide services, you know, I'm someone that talks to people and try to explain to them what we're doing on the technical side, but I'm also free enough to build my own application,
Mm.
working with AI, trying to learn something else and move on as the world moves on, you know, and that's something beautiful about what I do. You need to be free and explore things that you're curious about. That's probably the biggest gratification you can have. Um, so for me, yeah, I went from the challenges to the big opportunities like creating your job, but it's all correlated. Um, it depends how we talk about that. But the spiritual aspect is definitely something worth mentioning.
If we jump back into the SEO part, Antonin, do you sometimes look at startups and companies that are doing some very obvious mistakes? And are there like anything you want to talk about? Are there like very common SEO mistakes that you see new companies doing?
Oh, probably happens more in SEO than in any other businesses. I feel that some people are just trying to do web marketing. So they're trying to sell, but they forget that people are more knowledgeable about SEO than they are. So I have clients, and honestly, 90% of my clients have been through bad experiences before.
Mm.
So that's the reality. That's probably the saddest reality in
Bad
this
experiences in SEO with SEO
with
agencies?
other, yeah, almost all of them. I don't have people that never tried SEO before.
Mm.
It does not happen. And they've all been disappointed. So why is that? I don't know. It's probably a mix of different things. I know that when you bring something to the table, when you have a real added value, people stay. So I can assure you that the biggest mistake the other SEO agencies are doing is trying to do something they don't understand. It's not about creating just blog articles and trying to upload the conversion funnel. No, you need to work on the highly converting keywords and manage to rank them number one. And that's something hard to do. It's not something easy to do. So trying to sell something easy and obvious, it's hurting the business, it's hurting the clients, it's hurting you because you're losing time. Um, that's the problem in our field, I think.
Okay, Antonin, I'm gonna close with a tough one, a tough question. Um, SEO is a crowded field. SEO is being bombarded with new technology like AI and other automation. Do you see this as an exciting change in the industry, or do you see this as an existential challenge?
If you see that as an existential challenge, you're dead already. You need to take everything as opportunities, and that's how it works. If you don't take the trend will take you. So I'm welcoming AI as part of the tool set for SEO. I'm just trying to understand its limitation. That means more opportunities for us. Let's not forget that. Let's just not forget that. If you work with AI, you understand its limitations. You also use it for what it is. So it's a huge gain of time, but it's this effort of understanding that help us go through the changes, like those technological changes. I think it's huge opportunities overall. The job is evolving. If you don't evolve with it, well, it's bad, but it's anyway happening. So we need to use those tools. Of course, it's not the savior. It won't be a turnkey solution for miracles. It's not like that. But the job is evolving, definitely. We can automate stuff. We can also strengthen the human parts, especially that is interesting. What we can do that the machine cannot do. I was mentioning sensitivity. Those things are really, really important nowadays. Understanding the added value of a human, I think it becomes more important in SEO. And we're lucky, I think. I will finish with that. I think we're lucky because there are some work where you cannot replace, you don't have any human parts, basically. There are some jobs like that. I'm wondering, an accountant, I'm wondering, can it be replaced with AI? I know SEO will never be totally replaced with AI because it worked with semantics. And as you know, semantics are just, words are just an interface, and it's not just numbers. So it needs the human to work and to play with that and to create the language, but it's not with every job. So I would be worried for some other jobs. So it's a fascinating topic.
Antonin, thank you so much for your time. This was super interesting.
Thank you for having me, and I hope I was clear enough.